Good evening. I'm Shelby Williams with Plano City Council. We had a long one tonight, and we spent a lot of time in executive session, so I'll address right now what everybody wants to know regarding the Plano Tomorrow Plan suit. What happens next? In short, we're evaluating our options, and we'll get back to you. Sorry, that's where we stand. We moved to the preliminary open meeting after a very long executive session, which took us until 8 o'clock. We started by reviewing the CARES Act distributions. We've reached the end of phase one. We're going to move forward with phase two under the same manner that we did phase one. We then placed a recommendation to address a campaign finance ordinance on a future agenda. We agreed to have that come back up for a preliminary open meeting discussion, the second meeting in August, and then come back for a final discussion by council in the second meeting in September after we address the budget finally in the first meeting in September. Most of the cities around us have campaign finance ordinances. Plano does not, so we're going to be addressing that in the near future. We then moved to our regular meeting. There was the proclamation every fifth Sunday is Unity Table Sunday. In early June at a prayer gathering at the Collin County Courthouse, which I had the privilege of attending, it was proposed that every fifth Sunday or every fifth weekend be Unity Table. And that means to get together with people who aren't like you in one form or fashion and get to know each other better as a community. July 2020 was named Parks and Recreation Month for Plano, and we recognized Kimberly O'Neill for her service as chair of the Community Relations Commission. We then moved to items for individual consideration. The item which took the longest discussion was Promontory on Preston. There was a proposed development at the Coles near Ohio and Spring Creek Parkway for a complete redevelopment to move the Coles to a smaller building on the other side of the area, bump closer to Preston, and to allow up to 264 new multifamily units. Now, this ended up passing 7-1. I voted in favor of it for the sole reason that the developer had gone in advance and worked hand in hand with the homeowners nearby to address their concerns. There were still a couple of concerns from homeowners, primarily to do with apartments too close to the single-family homes there. And so we agreed to amend the zoning change to require that any homeowners that want it have trees put in for screening of acceptable height to prevent anything there. But this raises an important point. Almost all of the zoning cases that have come before council for several years are for upper scale apartments, as were these. Had the support of the homeowners in the surrounding area not been so specifically in favor of this, I would have had to vote no. And the reason is we as council and we as a city have to make sure that we have a proper mix of housing in our community. We don't, and we're rapidly losing what little mix we do. It's becoming a dichotomy between large two-story single-family homes and apartments, nothing in between. I think my wife and I built the last single-story single-family home in Plano 17 years ago. There are many older 30, even 40-year-old single-story homes, but as we come across the next couple of decades, there are going to be areas that are in need of redevelopment, and there are a variety of different options that we can be bringing to bear in Plano. We're already well over 1/3 multifamily. More than a third of our housing is apartments. We've got to shut off the tap sometime. So at what point do we say enough is enough? Now, I've always said I'm not inherently opposed to multifamily, but it has to make sense, not only for the area, but the whole balance has to make sense for the city. That's something the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee is ostensibly tackling right now, and that's something council has to tackle as well. We then moved into consideration of another multifamily project, which is senior living, independent senior living, Catherine Senior Living. That was actually referred back to P&Z. It was denied by P&Z. It was appealed to council. However, the developer said that they've addressed a number of the issues that P&Z had, so they'd like another chance at bat with P&Z. So we said, okay, you're up at bat again. We then moved to a review of the 2020-2024 consolidated plan for HUD funding. So the primary objectives are to provide decent housing and provide expanded economic opportunity. The 2020-2024, say that 3 times real fast, consolidated plan, do not confuse this with a comprehensive plan. That was passed. And that moved us to the 2020-2021 action plan pursuant to the 2020-2024 consolidated plan. This is basically the plan of action for HUD funds over the next 2 years. Then we passed a resolution to actually allow the city manager to apply for those HUD funds. And finally, we accepted without debate an interlocal agreement with Denton County for the distribution of CARES Act funds within the Plano portion of Denton County. Now, because of the very lengthy meeting, the time is approximately 11:45 p.m. right now as I film this. There were a number of things from preliminary open which we had to defer to a future meeting. So we will be coming at you in 2 days. Well, I guess by the time you see this, it'll be in 1 day, tomorrow, being Wednesday, July 29th. That is going to be the first view of the proposed budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year that starts October 1st. Now, this, I don't need to tell you, is a very crucial time economically for our city and our whole country because of the economic crisis wrought by the COVID health crisis. So tune in on Wednesday. There aren't going to be any votes. This is a public informational hearing. In fact, council agreed to simply attend by Zoom because we're simply going to be seeing the unveiling of the proposed budget. And we're going to dig into this over the next month plus to make sure that we are doing the best thing for our city and striking the proper balance. I'm Shelby Williams for Plano City Council. Thank you for tuning in.